Let's now look at factorization. The first type of factorization that you should always look for is common factor. So let's practice pulling out the common factor in different expressions. So the first expression we are given is 2x plus 10. Now there's a numeric common factor here, which is 2 that can be pulled out from 2x and from 10. So you're looking for the HCF that you can pull out for when you're looking at the numbers. So 2x plus 10, the HCF there is 2, so let's pull out 2 as our common factor. If I pull out 2 from 2x, I need to ask myself, 2 times what will give me 2x? 2 times x. So x goes into the bracket there. 2 times x will give me the 2x on the top. Then there's a plus sign, so I add my plus sign here. Then I need to ask myself for the second term is 10. 2 times what will give me 10? And I know the answer is 5, so I'll put 5 into my bracket there. So 2 times 5 will give me my positive 10 on the top there. So 2x plus 10, if you take out a common factor from that expression, that will be 2 into x plus 5. Okay, let's look at the second example here. We have 10x minus 15xy. So for each of these terms here, you need to look for the highest common factor for the numbers, so the numeric HCF, and you also need to look for a common variable or common variables if there are any here. So we have our two terms. 10x is our first term, negative 15xy is our second term. So if I look for my HCF of 10 and 15, I know that that answer is 5. So I'm going to pull out 5 for sure as my common factor for my numbers. Now if I look at my variables, I have x in my first term and I have xy in my second term. I can see there that there is a common x to both those terms. So I will also pull out x as my common factor. So my common factor is actually 5x. So I need to ask myself again, 5x on the outside times what will give me my first term of 10x? I know that 5x times 2 will give me 10x, so I put 2 on the inside of my bracket. Then I have negative 15xy as my second term. 5x times what will give me negative 15xy? I know that that answer is negative 3y, because 5 times negative 3 will give me my negative 15 there. Then I will have my x times y, which will give me my xy. So 10x minus 15xy, when you pull out a common factor, will become 5x into 2 minus 3y. Okay, for factorization, let's look at the next type, which is the difference of two squares. Now, when you're identifying the difference of two squares, it's really simple. The word difference is minus or subtraction. So there has to be two terms and the middle has to have a minus sign. The two terms have to be two square numbers or two square terms. So x squared is definitely a square term. 16 is also a square term because I know that 4 squared is 16. So all you do is you open up two brackets to factorize using difference of two squares. The square root of x squared is x. So I'm going to put x in the first and x in the second bracket because x times x will give me my x squared. I know that 16, the square root of 16 is 4. So I'm going to put 4 in my first bracket, 4 in my second bracket. And I know that 4 times 4 will give me 16. Now for the minus in the middle, one of my brackets has to be a plus and one of my brackets has to be a minus. When I open this out using the FOIL method, you will see that the middle x terms cancel off and you will end up with an answer of x squared minus 16. So using difference of two squares, x squared minus 16 factorizes to x plus 4 times x minus 4. We can look at the second example here, 49 minus 9x squared. So we need to ask ourselves, is this difference of two squares, yes or no? We definitely have the difference here, which is the minus sign. That's right. Now we need to check whether these two terms are square terms. So 49 is a square term because 7 squared is 49. Is 9x squared a squared term? Remember that everything needs to be squarable. So 9 is 3 squared, and x squared is actually x times x. So everything here can be squared, so this is difference of two squares. So again, open up two brackets. The square root of 49 is 7. So 7 in the first, 7 in the second. The square root of 9 is 3. So 3 in the first, 3 in the second. The square root of x squared is x. So x in the first, x in the second. And between these two terms, you need to have a plus and a minus to give us the minus on the top. So 49 minus 9x squared will factorize to become 7 plus 3x times 7 minus 3x. Let's move on to trinomials, very important for when you come to grade 10, 11, and 12. So trinomials, let's factorize. A trinomial is an expression with three terms, and one of the terms has to be x squared. The highest power must be a squared. So we have our first example here, x squared plus 6x plus 5. X squared is our highest power. There are three terms, so this is something that you can use trinomials for. So we'll use the cross method here. To factorize the trinomial, it's definitely the cross method. So to use the cross method, you set up the cross first, which means you draw your cross, like so. Okay, the next one, you look at your x squared term first. So your square, the term that's squared. So x squared I know is x times x. So on this side of the cross, I'll have an x multiplied by another x at the bottom there. Now I look at my last term, which is 5. Don't worry about the signs for now. Let's just look at the values. So if it's 5, I need to look at two numbers that I can multiply that will give me 5. So I know that 1 times 5 will give me 5 at the end. The next step is to multiply these across. So x here, multiply across by the 5 will give me 5x here. Then I'll go the other way. 1 here, multiply across to the x, that's going to be 1x. There we go. Now I look at my middle term. My middle term is positive 6x. What I have here is positive 1x and positive 5x. I need to get positive 6x. So to get positive 6x, I know that this needs to be a positive 1x, this needs to be a positive 5x. Because positive 1x plus positive 5x will give me positive 6x, which is my middle term, so that's correct. If this is a positive 1x, it means my value 1 in my cross here needs to be positive. If this is a positive 5x, it means that my value 5 here needs to be a positive as well. So my two brackets will then become x plus 1 and x plus 5. And this is how you factorize using cross method when you have a trinomial.